My name is Nour Trades, and I'm known for turning $20,000 into a little over $2 million. Today, I'm giving you a stock watch list with the hottest stocks I'm looking at this week, and I do this every Sunday, and every day from Monday through Friday, I give you a market recap with what happened in the market, what I'm looking at, and every Saturday, I give you an educational video. So let me start by saying this. I'm very excited about this week. I actually wasn't even expecting this till I started looking at the stocks that are reporting this week. I'm super excited. These are stocks I don't even, play with on a daily basis, but I do know about these, and I'm actually really excited for the stocks reporting this week. So the first thing I want to talk about is this week is full of headlines for economic news. We do have economic news coming out from Monday through Friday. So there's a lot of things coming out this week. I do think our economy is in good shape, so I'm not really worried about any of the economic news. You did see our GDP come out at around 3.2%. It should have came out, they had estimates around 2.5%. So I'm not really worried about our economy news coming out this week and any data coming out. I'm not really worried about that. We do also have China talks this week, so you guys should know that if anybody's playing with any Chinese stocks like BABA, you should know that China talks are going on this week. So that's very important. Also, you have stocks that control the market like Apple reporting this week. So you need to understand that anything can happen with the market just because Apple's reporting. So if Apple has a terrible earnings and it's down pretty big on earnings, then you'll have a negative day the very next day on the Dow because it does weigh a lot on the Dow. So you need to understand that if you're holding a lot in positions on contracts, you may want to cut down on Tuesday because Apple does report after the close on Tuesday. So that's just a heads up for the week. And let's get started with the watch list. So the first thing I want to start with is Monday. I'm not really looking at anything. So before the open, you have companies like Spotify reporting. I'm not a fan of Spotify because I am a shareholder of Apple, and Apple has Apple Music, and I do think Apple Music is the best on the market right now, and I don't think Spotify can compete with it. Obviously, anything can happen. I'm just biased towards Apple, and I do believe Spotify won't report that good of earnings just because Apple Music has been killing lately. Another big stock reporting Monday, but after the close, is Google, and that's a very big one. I'm not sure anything can happen with this one. So the reason I would be a pro for Alphabet you can talk about is Facebook. So Facebook did report earnings, and they did report and killed. They were actually up $17 at one point after earnings. They did come down because they had some Canadian problem. But Alphabet is definitely one to look at. It's definitely too expensive if you're new to trading. Obviously, with contracts too, the contracts are expensive. So I'm not trying to touch Alphabet, especially for my signals chat. I'm not looking at that. And it's just anything could happen. The charts don't point and don't give me a clear path for Google. Honestly, Google is a great company. Google isn't really going anywhere. I do love Google, but if you don't own shares, I wouldn't be playing with contracts with this one. I did like WDC, but I did put together a big watch list that I'm looking at, and it does overshadow WDC. WDC is good, though. It's just too early to actually determine which way it's going. So I'm not ready to put that much money into WDC. So if you're going to enter WDC on contracts, make sure you go in lightly. So let's start with Tuesday. So Tuesday before the open, we have BP. So obviously this is a gas station. If you guys don't know about this, I do like BP. So let's look at it on the chart. So BP, I do like BP. So one, I do think they're going to beat earnings. And two, on the charts, you can see that it created some support. So let's zoom in right here. I do think it's recovering. It's showing some signs of recovery. It hasn't confirmed anything, but with earnings, you do need to jump the gun. So let me just go draw this line for you real quick so you guys can see what support line I'm actually looking at. So, boom. Hold up 1 second. I'm sorry. It's kind of annoying. Boom. So as you can see, it has some support line. It's actually sitting on support, and on relative strength index, it's actually towards the low side, very low side. It shows some signs of recovery. Anything can happen, but I do like BP, and I would be looking at the $44.50 calls. This stock is going to move around 3% on earnings. So I like it. $44.50 calls if you're looking to buy BP. The second thing I'm looking at is MRK. So it's another stock reporting. It's actually reporting before the open on Tuesday. And this stock does look good. So one, it did hit a bottom right here. And as you can see, I'm actually going to zoom in for you so you guys can see this. It's pretty cool right here. So one thing I want to look at is Merck. It's been decreasing for the past month. $84.35 at one point at April 1st. It came all the way down to April 18th. So 84 hit a bottom at $72.40. April 18th, this was, excuse me if I messed up, I was reading something. But right here, April 1st, April 18th, $72, big difference. It did hit a bottom, and now it's rebounding, and it's rebounding really strong. I do think that they're going to hit earnings. I do like the charts. It actually confirmed that it's on an uptrend. So with this stock, I'm looking at the $79 calls, and it's going to move around 3.5%. So that's another stock on Tuesday before the open. And another thing to look at is support. So I can put support right here. You can see it's sitting around. It hit a bottom. Excuse me. Let me get this perfectly for you guys. And perfect. So it did hit a bottom. It did hit support, and now it's rebounding. So I would be betting for this stock on earnings, and let's see where this takes us. $79 calls. It's going to move around 3.5%. The next thing I'm looking at is a stock that I don't even like, but for earnings case, I do like it. So let me tell you why. One, it's showing that it's on an uptrend, and the stock is moving. So one thing is expectations for GE is already rock bottom low. How much more can it go? I'm not sure. GE, I'm looking at the $10 calls, and it's going to move around 8.25%. Due to the fact that I don't like the company GE, I'm going to label this as a high risk. Obviously, earnings, there's always a risk. It can go 50-50, but you can always narrow down your risk when you put everything together. So for the remainder, well, for everything on this watch list, you can call it medium risk or some risk, but GE is high risk. So high risk, but the contracts are cheap, so you can play with this stock if you want to, but if you want to, it's $10 calls. And yeah, so let's look at the next stock. The next stock is PFC. So let's look at this. I'm not sure if I wrote that right. Hold on, let this load. Alright, so my fault. I read it wrong. My handwriting actually sucks. It's PFE. Okay, so one thing I want to talk about is I do think earnings is about to be good for this stock. Usually around this time, earnings is good. The second thing is it's confirmed that it's on an uptrend. And three, if you can look at this stock, it usually has its ups and downs. But with this stock, it is reporting in a season that is usually beneficial for it. So I'm looking at this stock, and I'm looking at the $41 calls. It's going to move around 3%, and it's not expensive. So one thing you guys need to notice is a lot of these contracts are either cheap or expensive, but I made sure to put expensive and cheap stocks on this list so nobody feels left out, just to make sure you guys know that. So another stock I want to look at is Apple. So Apple is after close Tuesday. We talked about everything before close, and Apple's after close. So the reason I'm looking at Apple is, one thing about this is a medium to high risk. Anything can go wrong with this. The reason I'm looking at Apple is because service looks like it's increased. The second thing is I am a big owner of Apple shares, so maybe I am biased, but I do love Apple. If you can look, it's actually a really consistent stock. The second thing, if you look at the relative strength index, it does come around this area and bounces back. Look at the area it's at. Obviously, the chart does not look the best, but it looks decent. So anything, obviously Apple is expensive, so if you're looking to buy Apple, I'm looking at the 212 and 50-cent calls. It's going to move around 4.6%. The next stock I'm looking at is AMD. So I don't usually play with AMD because it gets hectic with this stock. But if you're looking to buy AMD, I'm looking at the $31 calls. It's going to move around 11.8%, and it does report after close on Tuesday. The reason I'm looking at the stock is because PlayStation 5 actually confirmed AMD will be in the PlayStation. So with earnings, I do think it's going to at least match earnings. But the second thing is I think guidance will be raised because of this whole PlayStation thing. PlayStation 5 was actually out of nowhere. So I do think that it will increase because of guidance. The second thing is it does have this little area or channel that it likes to play in. It goes up, down, and it's actually consolidating. As you can see, it goes up to $27.99, back. But a consolidation means that a big move is either coming in either direction. So anything can happen with the stock. Relative strength index looks okay. The momentum looks fine. There's just nothing much standing out. But if I'm taking a guess, AMD does look okay for earnings. The second, another stock that I'm looking at is GN. Right here, it's reporting after the close Tuesday. The stock is currently $181. I'm looking at the $190 calls. It's going to move around 5.88%. Why I'm looking at this stock? One, they're actually past this little resistance around 179. They just passed resistance. That is resistance. Two, this stock seems that it's going to beat earnings this season. And three, it looks really good on the relative strength index, momentum, and MACD. It actually confirmed that it's on an uptrend. So those are three things I like about this stock, and I'd be looking to buy the 190 calls for AMGN. Another stock I'm looking at is FEYE, FireEye. So this stock is also reporting after close Tuesday. So a few things I want to talk about with FEYE. The reason is, one, it did pass it's sitting right at resistance. So anything can happen. But two, it's confirmed that it's on an uptrend with momentum and RSI and MACD. And also, this is its season for earnings. This is where it performs for earnings. So I think people do see that, and that's why they're buying into the lows right here. And yeah, I like FireEye, FEYE. I'm looking at the $17.50 calls. It's going to move around 9.9%. Another thing I'm looking at is CVS. So the reason I used to not play with CVS, the whole CVS thing, is other big companies are playing just like CVS. So, are in the same business as CVS, but CVS is in Target now. You see it all over the place. But the one thing I want to talk about is the consolidation around this area. It's actually been consolidating for a while, and it's around $53.51. So with a consolidation, like I said before, you're betting it's gonna move in a big way in either direction. So I'm betting on the upside. It's confirmed uptrend on all three things I'm looking at. Other than that, I do think earnings is gonna be okay. Good. And I do look at other things. I'm not talking about it on this watch list because I do teach that in my course. So I don't like to go too much in detail because I do talk about it in my course. So there's other things I look at when I'm looking at a stock. So CVS, I'm looking at the 5650 calls. It's going to move around 5.5%. Another thing I'm looking at is EXEL. All right, so with this stock, you can see, let me zoom in. I don't know why I wasn't doing that, but it's actually sitting right by resistance at $20.65, 55 cents. It's sitting at resistance, but it did confirm uptrend. So I do see this excelling up. I do like this. So I'm looking at the 23 calls, 12.5%. With this one, options, you can't buy anything unless it's the first thing you could look at is May 17th. Other stocks, you can be buying options for May 3rd, May 10th, but this doesn't allow you to buy any other options other than May 17th or June 21st, August 16th, blah, blah, blah. But let's go back to the chart. I do like this stock. and I do think it's going to kill earnings. Another one I'm looking at, which I think is going to kill earnings as well, is DXM. Dexcom. I forgot the DXCM right here. So obviously the stock is sitting. It did take a nice little dip from 151. It's at 124, but it's confirmed uptrend, and I do think it's going to kill earnings. So I'm looking at the $135 calls, and it's going to move around 11%. Options don't show anything till May 17th. So those are the calls I would buy for the DXCM. Another thing I'm looking at is CI. So obviously, the last few stocks I've been saying pretty expensive ones. So I told you there was a mixture of cheap and expensive contracts that I'm looking at. And let's look at this one. So CI, I'm looking at the $170 calls, May 10th. Make sure it's May 10th because this is late in the week. So I don't want you getting stuck near Friday. But CI, $170 calls, and it's going to move around 5%. This is going to cost you around $164. So just know that few stocks are expensive on this list. And yeah, that's my watch list for this week. I'm actually pretty excited. I did study a lot of stocks this week, and these were the best picks I could put together. So thank you for joining my hottest stocks, my stock watch list for this week. I upload a video every single day of this week, and make sure you click that like and subscribe button. I put a lot of work into this, so that I would be thankful of that. And in the description, there's a lot more information about me. My Instagram is Nour Trades, and my website is nourtrades.com. I also have a signals chat where I tell you exactly when to buy and exactly when to sell. I have over 300 students in there. The website is nourtrades.com/signals. I do talk fast. That's so the video is not boring for you guys. And I'm actually a fast speaker regardless. But thank you for joining my video today. Make sure you click that like button. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Good luck.